This class covers emotions and stress as they relate to chronic disease. What are some of the pathophysiologies involved? There is a great chapter from an older certification textbook from ACSM, and the authors are Scales, Bacon, and Blumenthal. So be sure to look through that chapter. It's not very long for some additional readings. And of course, disease and illness is a chicken and egg phenomenon. What comes first? Does the person develop chronic disease because they're inactive, or does the chronic disease lead to the people being inactive? And then how do emotions interact with all of that? You know, when a person has a chronic illness, they have to do some sort of adaptation and in order to deal with the everyday stressors of their illness. So how do all these things work together, and how do they play a role in setting a person up for chronic disease? You know, what is their motivational aspect in caring for their chronic disease and in adapting their lifestyle to changes in chronic disease in their lifestyle? So I think back in the days, going back say 90s or so, as part of that official list of ACSM risk factors, they used to have stress as a modifying variable, and then over time they took it out. But it definitely does play a role, because people who have more life stress are going to have more heart disease. And if any of you were in Dr. K's health classes, she had showed a video about the people who were in low-level jobs and just how much more stress they have than the administrators. The administrators are saying, oh, everything's really great. Oh, it's an awesome place to work. And then the people who are really doing the grunt work and the long hours are like, oh man, this is really killing us. We've talked about heart attacks occurring after large meals or events like the Super Bowl and Thanksgiving days and dinners, but they do often occur a lot on Mondays. We talked about the Framingham study, the large epidemiology study of chronic disease and how activity relates to all of that, one of the first studies, and they found in that large study that people who underwent more stress did have more angina or chest pain. So what happens, and there's a very nice graphic display of this in that article where they've got, so when you look at the impact of stress, so the increased stress increases the sympathetic nervous system response. So that's your flight or flight response. I mean, that shouldn't be any surprise to anybody at this point. So it's going to decrease your parasympathetic nervous system. And of course, when you're in that fight or flight response, then that's going to lead to increased blood pressure, increased heart rate. We talked about how increased blood pressure leads to endothelial injury and atherosclerosis. So, and arteriosclerosis. And it can cause that activation of platelets to form clots. Increased catecholamines, those are your stressors. Again, your epinephrine. People are prone to arrhythmias. And looking at depression may have a huge impact on disease by the year 2020. So when you look at some of the reasons why that might happen, stressful life events, the economic situation we had the past 5 years has not been helpful. Social conditions, poverty, economic uncertainty, medical bills, and people doing things that are not conducive to their health. So when they say maladaptive cognitions, so again, they're health behaviors that are not helping people's health. So they may be doing more smoking, they may be eating more as a result of that, and obviously that's not good for the influence of chronic disease.